She was just a force of nature. She was such a powerful personality. Like, you've never met anybody who was as much of a fighter as she was. Not only was she a dog person and a horse person, she also decided to choose the breed that's probably the hardest to deal with, that you need to be the most persistent and bullheaded and you know, firm with, because they are stubborn dogs, and if you are not super strict with them and keep them in line, they'll just become monsters in a heartbeat.
I'm Ginger, and we've known each other for a long time. We met in 8th grade summer band. So we were both playing flute, and I didn't know how to do some of the notes, and she talked me through it. And that's history from there. Everything that she did with dogs and how great she was with bulldogs and how far she brought them. We had great times doing dog shows together. You know, unfortunately, it was, you know, the time in my life when I could pick up and go whenever she said I had a dog show, and I was like, all right, let's go, where are we going? So I had lots of time with that, and she loved her dogs, and she loved everybody's dogs.
First of all, she just had this tremendous presence, you know, and you could just, when you met her and you talked to her, you know, there's just, I don't know, there are few people that I connect with like I did with Mary Jo. And I knew her through the dogs, yeah, with I said I got my tenor from her, and I showed tenor for a while, and with her tutelage, and you know, we started going to some of the shows together, and it was great. It was great. She was always on the go. She was always making plans. Her wealth of knowledge that she had about dogs is just incredible. I, you know, could just sit and listen to her and learn every time you talk to her something more.
So I met Mary Jo working at a practice 12 years ago, and we clicked pretty instantly. And she and Jeanette and I became very tight. The three of us, we were all the same age, and I will refrain from mentioning how old we were at the time. And we just all clicked, and it was great. And she had so much to offer me. I'd never worked in a practice with somebody that knew so much about behavior and how to handle dogs, and really instilled a philosophy of trying to decrease the stress, and I loved it. I thought it was great. So I fully embraced everything she had to teach me.
The way I knew MJ was through Damon. Damon and I are fraternity brothers, and I'm his big brother from our fraternity. And I got to know MJ through Damon because, you know, he and I, again, we were in college, he would date somebody, and then all of a sudden, you know, they break up and he and MJ were hanging out together, and then, you know, something would happen and then he and MJ were together. And so so I got to meet her a few times, and then I had the privilege of being the best man in their wedding.
Well, for me, I actually think of the time when, it was one of the first times I actually went to the house, and they had just had some puppies not too long before that. And she had one that was basically the color of my jacket, which was like a cream color, and they called it Pashka. And I wanted to steal the dog.
I wouldn't let him.
She threatened to tackle me in the parking lot, in their driveway, and she was serious. The dog was so cute, though. He wouldn't buy it for me. Very mean.
I have to say, she was probably one of the strongest women I have ever met. She had an opinion on things. She shared her opinion on things. She was also very open-minded, non-judgmental. So if you can be both of those things together, she was. She was just a very, very powerful, very strong, inside, outside. In the same breath, she had a very softness and a real vulnerability to her.
Mary Jo and I have been friends since grade school. I spent time in her family home with her parents, her dog, of course, and you know, her older brothers. Her parents gave me my first job. They had a clothing store in town, a women's clothing store. So I was really too young to work, but under the table, when Mary Jo was there, I helped customers and helped sort the clothes. Something to note about Mary Jo, in high school, she was the hostess with the mostest. She had lots of parties in her grandmother's garage. Her grandmother allowed it, and we grew up in a very small town with not a lot to do, so when our class knew there was a party in her grandmother's garage. We were in quite a frenzy. There was beer there. We were too young to be drinking beer. I don't even remember how it got there, but she had a cool grandmother, I think.
I called her M. So I shortened MJ to M. And I met her when my English Springer Spaniel was declared beyond hope and no one could train her. And that's how I met Mary Jo, and she trained her beautifully, and I had 2 more wonderful years with her. And then I got a decade of great friendship with Em out of that as well.
I've known MJ for 18 years, and you know, we went to her stable and we went horseback riding, and just a great memory of spending time with her and her love of animals.
Well, she definitely loved dogs, and that, you know, most of her adult life, that pretty much consumed her adult life, was raising dogs and training dogs.
Very strong. And she always blamed my brother and myself that she was as strong-willed as she was because as 2 older brothers, we always picked on her.
Was that true?
Not that I remember.
I called her MJ. That's how she would introduce herself to me. She was my boss. We became friends. I had been told for years about her and that we would click, but there are times that you avoid people because there are people that think you will click with them, and it's one of those, wow, no, not really. How do you see me that you think this person and I would get together or get along? But we actually were incredibly compatible with a lot of stuff. Of course, had the fine jewelry habit in common. Larger than life, literally, figuratively. At the time, just asymmetrical hair, a lot of gold. She would enter a room and you'd know she was in the room.
I met her because she brought her bulldogs into Creature Comforts. She was a client with Karen Allen, and I was the head tech there. So she brought in, it was funny because she was very standoffish because she didn't really like anybody handling her bulldogs till she found out that I also showed dogs, and then suddenly it was like we were instant friends. And so it was like, you know, I was in her club, so I was able to handle her bulldogs. And then before long, she asked me she kept saying, I want a job here, I want a job here. So we kind of convinced Dr. Allen that it would be a good idea to hire her, even though she didn't have any veterinary experience other than the dogs, which was more than enough. But before long, you know, her and I were probably like the 2, I would say, strongest personalities there. We really got along. We were kind of like the dog whisperers, but better, much better. So she wouldn't even want to be related to the dog whisperer, have me say that, but unfortunately, it's the best way to describe it.
I'm Aileen Forker, and I'm Gracie's mom.
I'm Ashley Clazes, and I'm Flex's mom.
And I met MJ because I stalked her at different dog shows looking for a puppy.
And I did the same.
It's true.
But back in 2001, I met her at a puppy match, and she was showing dogs, and I saw Nittany, and I wanted him, and so that's when I met MJ.
So MJ not only gave us our babies, but they changed our lives because we can't imagine our lives without our babies. And this is Gracie here. And this is Flex and Gracie together. They're brother and sister. MJ's brought so much joy to our lives.
Yeah.
And she's a pretty special person.
She was very special.
Hi, I'm Tara Silva.
And I'm Eric.
This is my husband, Eric Gotchko. And we are great admirers and we're great friends of Mary Jo's.
Yeah, we decided to get a bulldog many years ago. I didn't want a dog. Tara wanted a dog. She broke me down, whittled me away, and eventually we decided we would get a pup. And we went to a bulldog show, the Lenape Bulldog Club.
And there we met many breeders, and they were very helpful, and some more than others. And we met this fiery redhead. And she was a tough nut from the beginning. So intelligent but very no nonsense.
Fiery.
Yes. And we loved her from a minute we met her. But I don't know if she was as sold on us as we were on her. So we learned that when you were getting a bulldog, you have to court the breeder. So we did have her to our house.
And we courted MJ for like a year and a half.
Yeah,
and eventually she scheduled us for a bulldog. Penciled us in.
Yeah, and then we, through the process, actually, we enjoy her humor. We got to know each other, and after we did finally get our dog Blanche, we became friends.
Yeah.
And we were really fortunate because MJ was a survivor of cancer at that time, and then I got sick. And MJ was a foundation for me. She helped me through, and
so did Blanche.
So did Blanche, my cancer angel.
Yeah.
And she continued to help me through as I've been fighting through the years, and we continued to help each other. And she's a big loss. She's somebody we will.
There's no words.
Yeah.
MJ was a good friend, an ally,
and I will miss
a mentor.
Yeah, a mentor, a friend, and just
you could always count on her for sage advice
and a laugh. Yeah. Always a good laugh. Even in the worst of times, she would just get back at you and just be like, you know what? Yeah, this really does suck. Let's but we can do this. Let's go.
She's one of those people she made a difference, and I'm never going to forget her for that. She helped me through some rough times, and and she kept encouraging me, and she kept me going at times, and even when she was having a hard time, she kept herself going, and she kept other people going too, and and I'll just always remember her for just what a great person she was, and the influence that she had in my life.
I think the first one she really got sort of as a pet and to just sort of start to get into it, and it went from being, a pet to being a lifelong passion. She had her own breeding kennel. At this point, there are, I have to count, 19 bulldogs, 2 Great Pyrenees, and 1 very sweet, very hyperactive mutt in the house. But she was also sort of the trainer of last resort in the area. She was the one that, if vets had an aggressive dog in the office and they were discussing putting it down with the family, they would give the family Mary Jo's business card and said, if anybody can fix this dog, she can. These were the dogs that were biters, that they were aggressive towards family members, that, were this far from being killed, and she saved those dogs without a doubt.
She was the greatest behaviorist I've ever met. The person that goes by the dog whisperer, I think, is it's just a crime. She was a dog whisperer. Never met anybody like her. I did one consult with her. It was a very, very tough case, and it had come through a recommendation for me, and I pulled her in. So I went on this consult with her. And this was a very anxious little dog and had some very severe issues going on. And when we walked in the door, the people were very anxious. The dog was clearly very anxious. This dog took one look at Mary Jo, and you could just watch its whole posture. It relaxed, and the dog literally said, "Oh, thank God you speak my language." It was just amazing. And for all I know, clinically, you know, study-wise, I know a tremendous amount of dog behavior. I know it clinically. I can't do what she did. And I've never met anybody that can do what she did. So it's the world has really lost a great resource.
It just wasn't one of those things like once you had your puppy, it was like, bye-bye, see you later, like many other people would be. It's like she was part of your life. Like just she became a friend to us. She wasn't just a dog, you know, a breeder to us. It's like she became part of our lives and she was a friend.
Yeah.
And she was, like Ashley was saying, she was always there. It didn't matter like what kind of silly question you had, even though I'm sure she would think there were dozens of silly questions that we asked, but she was always very kind and generous with her time.
Yeah, definitely. And before Facebook, she would randomly call the home phone. Back when we used our home phones and not our cell phones, she would call the home phone and check in on Nittany. And we were like, oh, wow, this is great. You know, she genuinely cared about where her dogs went and if they were being cared for. And I was like, this is great. And then when she got on Facebook, it was wonderful because then she could just see our pictures and comment and then write us right then, and we could just talk to her every day.
She probably thought we were crazy because we would be those obsessive people who would post random pictures of dogs and, you know, costumes, sweaters and stuff.
Yeah.
She was always on the go. She was always making plans. Her wealth of knowledge that she had about the dogs is just incredible. I, you know, could just sit and listen to her and learn every time you talk to her something more about these wonderful things. And she learned a lot about my breed, and I learned a lot about her breed. And you know, even to the point where we could sit and we'd sit and watch the Pyrenees show, and yeah, she could tear a Pyrenees apart just as well as she could a bulldog. Yeah, it's just, and a lot of, not just the Pyrenees either, she could do that with so many breeds. You know, she had such a wonderful eye for dogs. She can pick out a good dog, doesn't matter what breed it is.
MJ's passion for bulldogs was remarkable. Oh my God, and so the knowledge that she had, the, again, passion, you know, the one thing I remember, she would always talk about, like, she would train dogs, as it were, but she would say she would train people to handle their dogs, and there are lessons she would talk about, and I still remember them, and I tell people when they get new dogs, I'm like, oh, make sure this or do this because of the influence that she had. So the dogs were, you know, a huge part. But I think just in terms of MJ's, she was such a dynamic person, and just, you know, you would just get in a conversation, all of a sudden, you know, you're just wrapped up in whatever we're talking about, and you know, she was just such a dynamic, such an energetic person that you just felt connected, and you just were like enraptured for whatever long time period you had together.
How about we say, we love you.
We love you, Aunt Mary Jo. That's good.
Yeah, I think
we
that's
love you,
nice.
Aunt
Mary Jo. We love you, Uncle Dan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fine.
Say that all over.
My name's John, and Aunt Mary Jo was my aunt, of course, and I love her. All right, here's Michael, who's my cousin.
Hi, my name is Michael. I'm Mary Jo's nephew. Oh, there we go. I love her and I miss her. I remember her coming to the cottage all the time and spending time with her, getting gift cards and cards in the mail.
I am Michael's brother. I'm also Aunt Mary Jo's nephew. We've missed her since the day she's left us. There's really nothing that can replace her in our hearts and everything else. She's a special person in all of our lives.
I'm Maddie. I was Aunt Mary Jo's niece. One of my favorite memories with her was going to the Mutter Museum in Philadelphia. I just remember that being a great day. It was something we all enjoyed doing, and I'm going to miss her a lot.
Raymond,
Aunt Mary Jo's nephew. I just wanted to say love you very much and hope everything's going to be okay with Damon and love him also. We love you, Aunt Mary Jo and Uncle Damon.
Some of the stuff I remember the most is probably some of our first meetings. We used to go up to their cabin they had in the woods, and Damon and I might go bike riding, and we get together and have fun.
Back when we were kids, the family always got together and took an extended vacation either to Canada or Florida, and a couple times we took both sets of grandparents and drove to Florida a couple times. That was it was interesting. The one time my mom had the great idea, we drove down. Probably never, one of the pictures like burned in my mind. Decided to stay in Everglades City for a couple days. Why she wanted to stay in Everglades City, I have no idea. Mary Jo, we went in the swimming pool. She must have got bitten by mosquitoes 1,000 times. Her entire body was covered with mosquito bites. Like I said, never seen anything like it since. But she got bit up so bad, like her whole body was just like one giant mosquito bite. But yeah, they were fun trips, definitely.
I will miss her so much. She was like my sister. When Ray and I got married, she took all of her pictures. She always liked doing photography. And presents, she bought us a lot of presents. Going over to the cottage, going in the creek, going tubing down the cottage in inner tubes. We all did that.
So much. Her, she really cared about everybody. She always was more than willing to go out of her way to help people.
For a couple weeks after she passed, her Facebook wall was just flooded with pictures of people's dogs, of memories of, thanking her for saving their dog, thanking her for the wonderful puppy she let them have, and all these memories of time spent in training and showing, and fellow breeders, people in other breeds that had so much respect for her. It was everything that she was about.
They had a private wedding. Yeah, they basically went up to an inn in New Hampshire, and it was just the two of them.
It was sort of like an announced elopement. Like they said, we're getting married, and here's when and where, but you're not coming. So their two best friends, Ginger and David, went with them as their witnesses.
And of course, they took the bulldogs with them. They searched out this inn where they could have the dogs with them.
Yes, I was there. Shorter hair now, but it was great because it was Ginger was the maid of honor, and then I guess she was married. I was her matron of honor, but I was best man, and it was such. And I just looking back at the photo album, I haven't seen those pictures. It was just flooded back. It was such a wonderful time. But yeah, it wasn't technically eloping, but it was, and then bring friends, and it was a great weekend, and it was phenomenal, and I'm just so overwhelmed to have those memories. I haven't thought of that for 20 years. It's just incredible.
He was always a very quiet person, and he actually didn't talk at a very young age. He was older for having a conversation with you. And I remember the one time we were talking about that, and she said, he still doesn't talk much. And that was maybe about 2 years ago. So she helped give him a social life that if it wouldn't be for her, he wouldn't have had that. And I think she got him involved with the dogs and the dog life, the dog people, and I think that's what's going to help him get through this easier because of her friends.
I have invited some of Mary Jo's closest friends and family to say a few words to us. First up will be Mary Jo's brother, John.
Always wanted to do this. Testing. 1, 2, 3. I'd like to thank everybody today for showing up. I know a lot of you have probably traveled pretty far to get here, but I'm sure Mary Jo probably really appreciates everybody that showed up today. And for those who don't know me, I'm her older brother, John, but not the eldest. Ray's the eldest of the three of us. And MJ and I were about 3 years apart, and MJ and Ray, they were probably about 6, so I probably spent a little more time around Mary Jo, or the better older years, than Ray did. But I was blessed to have a sister, and especially the one that was as wonderful as Mary Jo. Mary Jo would always boast that she was as tough and strong-willed as she was because she always blamed Ray and I, being her older brothers, that made her that way. And I'm sure a lot of you understand she was a very strong-willed woman. And I think this trait always showed when she had to go and receive treatment. Even though things always didn't look good, she always came out, bounced back, and always had a bright outlook even after the treatments she went through. I'm not sure how many of you know that Mary Jo loved playing in the band, and she started playing the flute in high school, and she was a very accomplished flute player. And she would love to play in bands even when she was in college, whenever she had a chance. And I'm not sure, but I think that's where, if I'm not mistaken, where she met Damon. Mary Jo accomplished a lot of things in her life. She was extremely bright, and I remember when she graduated from college and was looking for work, she would always start at the bottom, taking the lowest paid job, and within months, she would be right up the ladder, running the business, being a manager. But that was a trait of her. She could start at the bottom, move up very quickly. And I think this all changed when she married Damon and started her passion with showing and breeding bulldogs and starting their own business. She pretty well didn't play in the bands as much, lost somewhat of her interest of playing the flute, but then when her and Damon got together and they started showing bulldogs and her going on her side business of training dogs, but that's something she always enjoyed. My sister was such a bright, hard-working, passionate woman who cared for everyone around her. She touched so many lives. She leaves behind a tremendous legacy, and a lot of people remember her and what she taught them for the rest of their lives. Mary Jo, we all miss you, and with all our hearts, God bless.
Thank you very much, John. Our next speaker is a close friend, Allison Zantel.
Can you guys hear me with him holding the mic? Okay. Dear M, it's been almost 2 months since I said goodbye. You left us on a clear, cold day, and and I had the honor of being with you, telling you that I love you and that you're okay. I'm deeply touched that Damon asked me to speak today, and it has taken me a while to decide what to say. In the end, I decided to let you do the talking. But first, one last quote from me to you. Don't worry if you're making waves simply by being yourself. The moon does it all the time. Keep making waves, Em. I'll be on the lookout for them. I love you and miss you, Allie. Em had a knack for putting things in their place. The right dogs with the right people, the right advice with the right owners, and the right ladies with the right lunch. Em and I talked nearly every day, but we also had a habit of sending each other cards. What I'm about to read to you is a selection of some of my favorite things that she sent me. Some she wrote and some she quoted. So again, she's put something in the right place. She's given me the right words for today. Just once, I would like to read a medication label that says the side effects are weight loss, increased energy, and decreased wrinkles. Knowledge is knowing that a tomato is a fruit, and wisdom is not putting it in a fruit salad. The less you respond to rude, critical, argumentative people, the more peaceful your life will become. Humans need positive reinforcement. Keep calm and eat chocolate. Hard work never killed anyone, but why risk it? Your springers make terrible guard dogs. Put ice on it. We're friends. You laugh, I laugh. And the last time she told me she loved me went like this. I love you. And you have to get the matching ring as it is on clearance. Lastly, I hope we're friends until we die. And then I hope we stay ghost friends, walk through walls, and scare the hell out of people together. Since January 8th, I've become intimately acquainted with the concept of a broken heart. I'll never get over the loss of my best friend, because the depth of my love is equal to the depth of my grief, and I'll never stop loving him.
Thank you, Ellen. Next is a friend from high school, Ginger Ball. Same?
Sure. Well, first I'd just like to say how wonderful it is to see everybody here. I know many of us have never met before, but we've probably heard a lot about each other through stories that she's told. Most of you know her as Mary Jo or MJ, but as far back as I can remember, I called her Bear, and I think it was the only one that she tolerated letting her do that, letting me do that. We met this summer before 7th and 9th grade, and it was summer band, and we both played flute. We were learning Love Will Keep Us Together by Captain and Tennille, and I kept forgetting how to play some notes, but thank goodness for her, or I never would have made it through that song. She invited me to come to her house a few times throughout that summer, and it just continued on and on for many summers after that. We grew up in a small Pennsylvania coal mining town, and her parents owned a woman's clothing store called Smart Shop. A fond memory I have of that was the time her mom was having a raffle for free ear piercing. I put my name in, and I won. And I always wondered if she didn't have a little bit to do with that. Since we were 2 years apart in school, band was the one thing that kept us together. Along with our small, crazy group of friends, we had many fun times. Band trips to competitions, bowling every week, tubing down the creek at our family cottage, and our crazy car hide-and-seek rides throughout the streets of Mount Carmel. We also spent a lot of time together, just the two of us. We both loved taking pictures, and we often talked how great it would have been if digital cameras were around back when we were taking them, because we were always begging our parents to either buy us more film or take the last roll to get developed for pictures. But the one thing while looking through the old pictures that I realized is we really never took pictures of us, mostly sceneries and animals. Sometimes we would also just like to hang out at her house after our football games on Saturday nights, and we would order a Bertucci's pizza with shrimp and extra cheese and watch Saturday Night Live. We also spent many hours sitting in her kitchen drinking iced tea and making fun of people's names in the phone book. After we had both graduated high school and started our young adult lives, different states took us to different states, but we always kept in touch. We both lived in Massachusetts for a short time, but our lives and careers took us to different states once again. I eventually settled in Connecticut, and she moved back to Pennsylvania. She was starting to show her bulldogs, and I accompanied her to many shows, and we met new friends and had many fun nights with laughter and reminiscing. I think we've all done a lot of reminiscing these past 2 months. It's definitely easier to reminisce with someone, not about them. It's hard to put a person's life into words, especially when your heart is broken. I've had a hard time believing that she isn't here anymore. I've lost a lot of people in the last few years. I've lost my parents, my in-laws, and other family members, but this one has been the hardest. We each have our own individual memories of her and how she touched our lives. She brought people together. And by all of us being here together today is a way for us to say thank you for her being our friend, our mentor, a fellow bulldogger, a horse lover, sushi enthusiast, a sister, and a wife. I will cherish her forever. And as the song said when we first met, love will keep us together.
And last at bat. You come here too. No. You're living
Me, okay.
It was almost 30 years ago. I was asked earlier about this story, and here you go. It was almost 30 years ago in the summer of 1985. I was on a bus for a high school all-star band gig, waiting to go to dinner somewhere. Some kid fell sad of trouble. Luck would have it, the last open seat on that bus was right next to me. And then this tall knockout redhead came on the bus, looking for a seat. She sat next to me with a big grin on her face, and I was struggling to get my chin up off the floor. It turned out we were inseparable for the rest of the trip. So it was on this very weekend, about 20 years ago, that Em and I were in the town of Dorset, Vermont. We had a B&B called the Barrows House, and we were married. I'm thankful to have the best man and the best woman from that day with us here this evening. Forgive the cliche, but the years have really flown by. One of our dreams, since actually before our wedding day, was to throw a party very much like this one, where all our friends from all over the place and over the years would be able to join in. So thank you all very, very much for coming here to make this happen. And while, by the way, I am issuing thank yous, there is one person who deserves all the credit for this evening, and that's my sister Karen. Now please help me to thank her with a round of applause. I was trying to find a theme for this little speech, looking for meaning or some kind of purpose or a lesson that we could draw from this mess. The best I can do is this. To remind you that all you hear are Em's legacy. It's not the bulldogs, not the dog training. It's all of you. It's no accident that at least 5 women here, and I bet if I asked for some hands, I'd be more than that. At least 5 women here would call Em their best friend. Show me. And oh, by the way, that lady got racked up more than 2,000 Facebook friends. Which must make her in the top 10 for that website. She knew the value and importance of staying in touch and making sure that you knew that she cared. That's the legacy we are charged with living up to. So now, dear friends and family, let's raise our glasses to Mary Jo. Thank you, everybody.
what aren't fond memories of her? She had a way of sneaking into your life and permeating everything with her joy and her radiance and her humor. I have so many things in my home that are from her that are hanging up with terrific quotes. And she was a for no good reason gift giver. So for no good reason, you'd get gifts and cards and phone calls and things like that. So I have several for no good reason gifts sitting around that I can wear. Some I can wear, some I look at. Some are just wonderful.
Her health rose and fell so many times that I think they had a lot of opportunity over the years to discuss, you know, what she would want. Yes, this is very much what she wanted. Like she did not want church services. She did not want people dressed in black crying over her, hence the bright colored sweater today, because I knew that she'd approve of this.
It was nice. It was nice because when we go to church, we learn when somebody dies, you celebrate their life. And this was a very happy celebration. I mean, of course, there was some sadness, but, you know, it was a true celebration of life.
It's heartbreaking because she's not here, but
in the same breath, I think she would be really delighted with how this whole thing went. It's perfect. It's her. I'm sure all of these people, although I don't know all of them, I'm sure are people that she just really cherished.
I mean, I just feel immensely fortunate that she thought so much of me. So that's it. I'll bawl if I say any more.
I guess probably I'll tell the story of the funniest thing that ever happened to us, because there were so many stories and I was thinking, what am I going to say? And I know Damon would probably want me to tell one of the stories. Well, she was the behavior guru and the whisperer. So we had this 200-pound Cane Corso come in, okay, huge. And it came in for a rabies shot and it had pinned 2 technicians against the wall. And the thing was absolutely uncontrollable. It was one of the nastiest dogs I've ever had the experience with. So they scheduled for a day when Mary Jo and I was there. I'm like, oh, great, why did I have to be involved in this? But you know, she always had confidence in me, and I'm glad she did, because at that point I did not have confidence in myself. So the owner gets the dog there, can't even get it in the building. The dog's trying to kill the owner, trying to run around. It was just horrible. I mean, it's muscling everybody, but she was determined. We were going to get this dog in and we were going to get it vaccinated, and she was going to do it in a positive fashion. I didn't think that was going to happen. I had already resigned to the fact it wasn't going to happen. So she's like, let's do this, let's do that. So finally we get the dog into the lobby. And I'm like, I can't believe I'm actually in a confined space with this animal that's going to kill somebody. I know it's going to kill somebody, but she's so positive. We can do this. And she says, okay, I got a plan. I'm like, what? She goes, I'm going to come up behind him. I'm going to grab him behind his head. She goes, you're going to get that muzzle and you're going to come in from the front and you're going to shove the muzzle on. She goes, okay. I said, nope, not doing it. Sorry, done, not doing it. And she looks at me, she goes, okay, plan B. She just rolled right along, right on to plan B. Because I'm like, there's no way in God's green earth I'm going to come up to this dog's face. I trust you, but not that much. I don't trust him, you know. So needless to say, that was the first time I ever saw her give up. And we said, you know what, this isn't going to happen. And we let the dog go. But we laughed for years about that, because I always say, so what's your plan B?
As cliche as this sounds, and as terrible as it is, because I am in a relationship with someone, she was my better half. She was, she was the tether that brought me back to earth when I got upset about things. She was the logic in my life. She was the humor. If something funny or stupid or gross happened at work, I could always call her and tell her about it. Although I did make her promise never to sling dog spit at me like she did her other vet friends. But we were with each other thick and thin, sick and well. There was pretty much nothing we didn't tell each other.
I have to say, she was probably one of the strongest women I have ever met. She had an opinion on things. She shared her opinion on things. She was also very open-minded, non-judgmental. So if you can be both of those things together, she was. She was just a very, very powerful, very strong, inside, outside. In the same breath, she had a very softness and a real vulnerability to her.
Definitely. She will definitely live on. She brought so many people together and did so many positive things that all of us, like, even though we don't all know each other, we're all brought together because of her being such a wonderful person. And she was positive, and she just had a lot to offer and gave us a lot.
I feel like I've been talking to you so much anyway, but Damon loves you and he misses you. But we're trying to take care of him as best we can. He'll be okay. We're taking care of the dogs. And God, we're all gonna miss you so much.
I just wish you were still here. And I wish there was more I could have done for you. You fought hard. And just watch over us. And I'll see you someday.
It would mostly be expletive deleted as far as how dare you do this and leave me without you. And so, you know, as far as what I would like to say to her, she knows darn well how angry and how much I love her.
MJ, I still want my puppy. I want my Pashka, or at least one that looks like her. We love you.
Yeah, we love you, MJ, and we miss you, and we'll take care of Damon, and I thank you for the memories that I've had, and again, seeing the photo album has just brought back a lot of really happy memories, and thank you.
I think she knows that I miss her. I think she knows that we all miss her. That's why we're here. That's about it.
I didn't mean to.
No,
get
it's
that
okay.
moment.
I've been very controlled.
We talked every single day, every day. And I've never had anybody stand behind me the way she did. Because we both went through some really hard times and we've never let each other down. I always knew she was just a phone call away, and she always knew that with me. Always.
Thank you for being a wonderful person and caring about your family and your nephew and brother-in-law and sister-in-law. And always caring to everyone else.
I'm Mary Jo. I will miss you. I will miss you. You were my friend, somebody I could share something with and you wouldn't judge. I'll just miss her and I'll love her forever. I can't believe she's gone. I still can't believe she's gone.
I want her to rest in peace. I hope she's surrounded by all her two-legged and four-legged friends and family that went before her. Yeah, my heart goes out to Damon. My heart goes out to her brothers and their families and all of her friends.
MJ, you're a hell of a lady.
Oh, well, if I had a chance to say anything to MJ, I would say that I miss horribly your texts and your calls when fighting is tough, and I miss being able to be there for you because that made me feel purposeful, and I truly miss you being there to help me. And you were loved more than I think I ever told you. So I love you.
Thank you. So many wonderful lessons, so many wonderful memories. All I feel is gratitude. I don't know that any of us knows really how lucky we were, how lucky we are.